So on today's video, we're gonna do a little bit of work and we're going to put in some expansion plugs, and then we're going to fill half the block with a little bit of engine block filler. So I'll go through the details of all of that on a 455 Oldsmobile block. Hopefully you learned something today. Alrighty, to do this, to get started, and the reason we're doing this is because the side bolts for the splayed bolts on these main caps, they go down into the water jackets. So to fix this, we gotta put in the expansion plugs right here. So we're gonna go through, put in the expansion plugs, and then I'm going to roll this over and I'm gonna get this as level as I possibly can in a place where I can let it sit. So after you get this whole process kind of done and prepped and ready to go, what you kind of have to do is you got to roll this block over in a spot where you can get this thing as level as you possibly can, because what's going to happen is as we go fill this block and we start putting the filler inside these water jackets, it's going to take up that space, and then what it's going to actually do is shrink those cylinder bores, which is why you don't want to do this when you've done any kind of machine work or any final machine work. This is always a prep step that you would do prior to doing any of that kind of stuff. After you get all that block filler in there, and it's a product made by Moroso. So as you can tell, I bought all this stuff from Summit Racing. Seems like they've done a pretty good job on keeping hot rodders and drag racers alike in the business for finding these niche car parts. I tried Speedway Motors. They didn't have any of this kind of stuff on hand. So they're actually local to me here in Phoenix. And like I said, we're gonna use a little bit of shellac around these expansion plugs. We're gonna knock these in the sides of the block just so we don't have any leaks and we lose some of this block filler. And then I'm gonna come through here and I'm going to then I'll start putting in that block filler in these holes. So the block filler itself comes in these little jugs. It's like a powder. It looks, I guess you'd call it similar to concrete, but it's really not. So this stuff here is actually designed to expand with cast iron. So done this a couple times on a few Oldsmobiles in the past. Works pretty well. Works good on kind of giving it the cylinder walls that additional support when you're making big power. These blocks, you know, you can get a good one, you can get a bad one. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. You can do whatever you want to do with sonic checking. I always recommend that anytime you go oversize. This block is going to be overboard. We're going for a 4210 bore size on this thing. So stock on this bore is 4125. So here's our engine block filler. Basically with this stuff, tells you exactly what to do with it, but I'll read the instructions. It says, once a block has been fully filled, it cannot be unfilled. So basically this is something that you only want to do one time, and you got only one chance to do it. So make sure that this thing has been cleaned up, vatted, tanked, check for cracks, all of that business prior to doing any of this kind of work. Because I mean, if you haven't done all those steps, you're going to be wasting your time. Also, you don't want to have any residue of any engine coolant inside of this thing. It just doesn't work out the best. It doesn't function like it should. and then it has a problem adhering somewhat. So you just got to be careful with it. So make sure it's been hot tanked. It says install new freeze plugs. Wash out the coolant jacket with a dry laundry or dish detergent and hot water. Flush it thoroughly with clean water. Make sure that the freeze plugs and drain plugs are installed. And it says make sure that and set up the block where you want to pour it. Pick a spot where it can stay for at least a few days and not be in the way. Place a bubble towel or bubble level on the deck surface of the block and level it side to side, front to rear. So with these stands, as you can tell, it kind of droops a little bit to the front. I mean, this is a Harbor Freight stand, it's nothing fancy. But what you can do is you can like overlap pieces of cardboard and like lap it up, and just you can use that to kind of level it. So we'll put a level on it when we go to do it, but that's kind of what you're trying to do. You just want to level side to side, front to back, whatever you got to do. Pin it, lock it in place, and hope for the best that it doesn't move while you're doing it, because however it dries is the way it's going to be. There's no second chances with this. So I guess let's go ahead and let's get to putting in these expansion plugs. I think we'll do that first. I think we should be ready to rock and roll. If you're working on an Oldsmobile at home, and you're working on a 455 just like I am, the size of the plugs in the sides of these things here is 1.5 inches, looks like. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to install these guys. So first I kind of start by just kind of cleaning some of the surface rust out right before I do it. Now you're not looking to get real crazy with it, you just kind of take off the surface rust. So I'm just kind of going to go in there and give her a clean buff. That way you give something nice and clean for that silicone sealer to seal against. Roll it over and do the other side too. So then the next thing I'm going to do, take a little bit of brake clean and just clean out those holes. Like I said, it's all in the prep. You want things like this to be successful. So then you don't want to forget to put in your block drains. We don't want to forget those things. So there's a plug that came in our kit for those. And that is the wrong size. So that's a 3/8 plug and we need a 1/4 pipe. Wonderful. Okay, well that's not going to stop us from getting our expansion plugs in. up finding a set of plugs. Had some in my toolbox buried deep, so it'll save me a trip to the parts store this time. It's always a good idea to have stuff like this in your box. If you're one of those guys that does stuff like this, so that way every time you need something you don't have to go to the store all the darn time. So what I'm putting on here is Teflon tape, just basically just to help seal this thing when we go to put the block filler in there. Alrighty, so now I'm going to take an air hammer and hopefully get this thing to settle out here. Then I'm going to put the deck plate on and just let it sit. So I'm going to do this for a few minutes. Try not to rattle on this thing too hard. I don't want to break the block. We're just trying to get stuff to move around a little bit, and it is moving. As you can see now, it's running out the front. Well, that was relatively painless. Now I just got to put the deck plate on. Yeah. You look and see how things look in there. So I mixed this with 2 cups, and then I put another 2/3 of 1 cup in there. So it was just shy of 3 because I wanted it real nice and runny so it can just get in there and go into all of its little crevices and stuff. So I didn't get too crazy with it. I didn't go put leave it on its thickest setting, mainly because I wanted it to run into all the places it needs to go. So it looks like it came together relatively easy at that. So for what it's worth, I used 2 cups and another 2/3 of 1 cup. So 2 2/3 cups of water, just cool tap water is all I used. And I shook this up real nice. That's it. And this is our deck plate. So we do a lot of Oldsmobile engines between me and my father. So we felt the need to buy one of these things, so we got one now. The old bubble again. Alrighty, I think we're good. Alrighty, so what we did is we put the deck plate on. We got the engine block filler in, so now it's just got to basically sit here and cure. Probably going to be about a week this side, or at least in a couple days. Maybe I'll check it on Wednesday or something, and then I'll see if maybe I can do the other side on Wednesday. Basically, it's the same process. You roll it over the other side, you make sure it's good and flat. You mix up another jug of that stuff. It looks like it just went just under the water pump port. So it looks like it's filled up basically to there with just one of those jugs on this thing. So doesn't seem to take a whole bunch. So I bought 2 jugs of it just by memory. I thought that it was about there. Even if it was a little on the low side, I was okay with that. You know, it doesn't need to be 100% full for what I'm doing. Really all I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to encapsulate the tips of the bolts where these go into the water jacket. So that's the biggest thing that I'm trying to do. Like I said, I'm still up in the air about using this block for this test, because I mean, realistically, this is not exactly a test of short blocks. This is a test of top ends and cam packages. So realistically, does it have to be the 490? No, but I just thought it would be a nice, cool progression all the way through. honestly, I'm kind of rethinking some of my earlier thoughts of doing this project as far as, you know, like, will the 468 do what we need to do? Absolutely. Will it make quite as much power? I mean, we're talking basically 20 cubes. You know, 20 cubic inches and maybe about 150 thousandths less stroke. So, I mean, it would be cool to see apples to oranges, but the costs and what does it really make sense to do it at this point? You know, I mean, realistically, I think, you know, the 468 will fit the bill. So I think once this thing goes to the machine shop, I think I'll get on tearing it down and just kind of going and cleaning things up on the 468 and get it ready for business. Then I can go and I can put it in the car, do some other mock-up stuff. Like I said, I made a custom pan for it. So, I mean, it's pretty much ready to rock and roll. I got to finish up the cylinder head, so I got stuff I need to do on my end. I just got shipping notification that my piston should be here on, I believe, Tuesday. So that's pretty cool. So as soon as I get this thing wrapped up and get the block fill wrapped up on this thing, I can get this thing back to the machine shop. That way they can, you know, in the next month or so, whenever they get to it, they can do some finish boring and that kind of stuff on the block. So it's moving forward at a snail's pace, but we are getting progress. So, I mean, it is what it is. Beggars can't be choosers in this day and age, I guess. So it kind of is what it is. So I guess that pretty much concludes everything for today. This thing is just going to have to sit, wait here, and dry. So, I mean, that's really all that's going to happen from here. So, yeah. Hopefully you liked today's video. It's a little bit more tech savvy, I guess. And then, like I say, I'll go ahead and I'll tear that thing down and I'll just document it going back together. You know, the whole process with that. Like I said, all that's in it is a bunch of aluminum shavings from me making my pan, which I got to clean it out as well. I just didn't do a very good job trying to keep things as clean as I probably should have, and it's my own fault. It has absolutely nothing to do outside of that. But I was just lazy, and now I got to pay for it. So, anyways, I think that's probably what we'll do. Is we'll probably just roll with a 468, get this thing rocking and rolling, get this thing on the dyno, and make a few pulls with it, see what she does, and you know, it will be what it is. So I guess that's where we're at. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the deck plate off, then we're going to roll the block over, level it up, true it up, fill it, and then we're going to replace the deck plate onto the bank. so we're back today. We're gonna go get this this motor. We're gonna get it off the stand. We're gonna go take it over to the machine shop. So that's kind of what I'm gonna do right now. I'm gonna take it off the stand, load it in the back of the truck, then we're gonna go run it over to the machine shop, Zimmerman Racing Engines. That way we can finish the whole machining portion of this. Meantime, the pistons have showed up, so I'm gonna kind of show those to you. Like I said, we're gonna do the gas ported rings from Total Seal. So gonna be doing that on this particular engine. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna kind of do like a mix match of rings. So the top ring is gonna be the gas ported ring set on this 490. And then the second one down is going to be, you know, just your standard ring pack that came with this ring set. I didn't do anything special as far as any type of anything special with the rest of the rings or whatever. So it was about the cheapest way that we could do this and get something that is still file fit in this bore size of a 4210. So we're kind of limited on options the way that it was set up without getting too crazy on costs. So it was cheaper for me to actually purchase an entire ring set in a 4210 bore. But the problem is the other two rings outside of that are a different size. So the other two, there's a 5/64 and a 3/16. Well, these pistons were made with a 1/16, a 1/16, and a 3/16 oil ring. So, I mean, I guess we could use the oil ring set. That's not a problem. We could possibly do that. There shouldn't be an issue with doing that. So we could run the top ring and the oil ring out of the Total Seal set, but we'll have to run the second ring out of the UEM piston set. And like I said, the only reason I did that was just to try to save some costs. So here's our fancy pistons for this bad boy. So I'll kind of unbox these guys. That way you guys can kind of see what we're working with here. So these are a 455 Pontiac piston that I'm going to put into an Oldsmobile. And like I said, the only reason I'm doing that was simply to try to save some costs here and there. This is a shelf piece. This is not a custom deal. So this is a shelf piston that is designed for a 455 big block Pontiac. So that being said, it's kind of a real short piston. So this piston has your valve reliefs. So the Pontiac piston is on a 14-degree valve cant. So the big difference here is that the valve pocket is actually going to be slightly deeper than what it typically be on a usual Oldsmobile piston. Then I also have a small dish to it, and that should get our compression right about where we need it. As I remember, we're going to be roughly in the like 10/8 range or something like that with the cast iron heads. And if we do go through the whole system and get all the way up to the Knowlton setup, it's going to be roughly close to around 14:1. So you'll kind of see the progression. Each combination, each time I change cylinder head on this thing, the head gasket's the same thickness, but the chamber is significantly smaller than what the stock one is going to be. So this still is going to get us kind of in the range where I wanted to be with the Knowlton setup. So it should work well with all of them. Like I said, the only thing different with this is it's going to be a slightly deeper valve pocket than would typically be in an Oldsmobile piston. Still no word on the crankshaft. We got the rods. They're at the machine shop, so we can go ahead. We can put the rods on here. We can go through the process of machine work on this block, and then as soon as we get the crank back, then we can balance the whole assembly and do that whole thing. It's going to be internally balanced. I always recommend doing that. Even on your Oldsmobile blocks and stuff like that. I mean, it does cost significantly more money to go that direction, but you will have a lot better success with your Oldsmobile engine build, especially on something like this that I intend on spinning, you know, roughly over 7,000 RPM. So the good thing with running a Pontiac piston is it's nice and short and it's very lightweight. Go ahead and we're gonna get to work. Like I said, we're gonna get this thing off to the machine shop today, so that's my plan. I'm kind of working a little bit later today. So, oh, and I was also gonna kind of dress up the front of the block with a grinder and stuff before I pull it off the stand. So I'll film that stuff and you guys can kind of see what that all entails as well. Just kind of, it's just for my own peace of mind. I like doing it. I like trying to make the block look real nice and decent and stuff, especially when, you know, we're going through all this extra effort and whatnot, trying to get everything the way we want it. So I think I'll go ahead and I'll do that as well. So I'll open up some of these passages. There's a couple oil drain backs I want to open up too, just so oil can get back to the pan as easy as it possibly can. And we'll also clean up the front of the block and make sure that's nice and pretty. So that's what we're gonna do today. So we'll get to it. Nothing strength-wise that I'm taking out of the block. I mean, I'm just doing like a 1/16 of material that was never really intended to be there. It was just a bad part of the casting, originally made 70 years ago. So I mean, that's really all I'm taking off here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my grinder and just go along this fine edge here on the outside edge. Just take off the sharp edges here because it's when you're working with these blocks day in, day out, and you're messing with it, especially on a race car, it just makes it nice when you aren't cutting yourself every time you are touching anything on the block. So I just kind of take my grinder, just knock off all the high spots, and I'm not getting crazy. I'm just trying to make it so I don't cut myself every time I work on my car. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take that flap disc. I'm just going to go over all the little surfaces on these little edges, right on the sharp edges of the corners here, that kind of stuff. So basically what I did is on the factory, these things, they have a little flat spot right here from about right here on. And what I did is I basically cut a small groove in this thing about 1/8 of an inch deep. I didn't get too crazy because you don't go too deep on this thing because you take away the integrity of the cap. So what I did is I just kind of cut a small groove in here to allow for oil from the pickup tube to transition into this hole. And then I took and I blended and opened up this little hole right here for the oil inlet for the this is oil coming from the oil pump into the actual block itself. So I just spent a little bit of time and opened it up. I mean, you don't got to get too crazy with it. A guy could wrap a lot of time up into it, and there's really no reason for it. So that's pretty much all I done. So back to this thing here. So yeah, pretty much all I did was I just took all the sharp parts off the oil pan rails, the top of the block, and then, like I said, I transitioned this little spot on the cap, and that's just to allow the oil to flow freer into the engine itself from the oil pump. So that's kind of all I did with that, really. I'm going to take the engine picker now. I'm going to go snag this thing and get everything loaded up so I can run on down to the machine shop before I got to go to work.